When will my baby sleep through the night? Hi, I'm Sebs, pediatric osteopath, now full-time dad. And in this video we're going to talk about the most asked questions I got in regards to newborns and their sleep. Because in reality, let's face it, those typical Instagram babies you see that sleep everywhere and anywhere are not the majority of babies. And sleep can be not just chaotic, but also just very unforgiving if you are very stressed about what your baby needs to be doing when it's sleeping. Why does my baby wake so often? This is a question we get a lot in our clinics. Our newborn sleep is a lot different than the sleep we have as adults. They are still in the phase that A, their brain is rapidly developing, and B, they still have to learn and adapt to circadian rhythm, which is light and darkness outside. They did not have that in the womb. It's pretty much that they have one sleep stretch, which is divided into the light and very active sleep, which is sort of like our REM sleep. And then they have the deep and quiet sleep part, but that's not as long because, again, what they're doing a lot in their sleep is developing their brain and their neurons, and everything gets processed and built out, which is why you see your baby moving a lot, rolling around or moving their hands, even having the reflex in between when they hear something. It's because they're in this very light but very active sleep state. Can be anywhere from 45 to 60 minutes. And then what happens after that is they start waking, they check around, is everything still safe? Right? Is my mama, my dad, are they still here? Am I still in a safe environment? Or do I have to actually communicate, which is screaming, and cry for help? Another reason for your baby waking so often is that it's in this light sleep state, because it's also the state of sleep that prevents sudden infant death syndrome, protecting itself from the super deep sleep and waking up to feed and waking up again. That's why the light sleep is so prevalent and is a majority of the sleep. And it's very important because what does your baby have to do? It has to tell the breasts, well, I need more, I'm developing, I have more and more hunger, I need more and more energy, and maybe even having episodes of cluster feeding. And in addition to that, it also has to check its surroundings, like I said, for safety. But unless your newborn is a very gifted and talented good sleeper, which is only like 10, 15, 20% of the cases, then you will have wake times every hour or so. The total amount of sleep per day is somewhere between 14 to 17 hours per day. Over a stretch of 24 hours, that's a lot of time, right? So that's why you really feel like everything in the first few weeks, it's all about the sleep, waking, nursing, and sleeping again. From my perspective, it's about the wake cycles, because you only have maybe a max of an hour-ish where your baby is awake before it has to go back to sleep. Otherwise, it will be overtired, which we'll get to in just a second. How can I help my baby connect sleep cycles? This is also a very common question, especially when parents are aware that I have those sleeping cycles, but how do I actually connect them so my baby can sleep more than an hour at a stretch? This becomes especially important after the first 2 to 3 weeks, in which cluster feeding and waking often definitely has, as I just said, the primary function of maintaining growth by stimulating the breasts for more milk. But then, how do we actually help connecting the sleep cycles? And this is where we're not forcing the baby to be independent. We're trying to be responsive to their needs. What we do is we try to establish certain routines that your baby can connect to the feeling of safety and therefore is able to drift back into sleep. Getting your baby to sleep with suckling or some sort of carrying. And what you will notice is that your baby will actually start to depend on these. And that's totally okay. And you try to connect all of these things together so that when your baby starts moving and you notice, oh, it's about to wake up, not fully, but they check their surroundings, they have their eyes open, but they're still in that sleepy state. And you still have a minute or 2 minutes where you can hush your baby gently to sleep again. You give them the safety and you give them the net that they actually know, oh, everything's all right, and they can just drift back to the next cycle. Another thing for connecting sleep cycles is your baby being close to you. Your heartbeat temperature, touch. All those things help your baby to know that it's safe, that everything's okay, and that it is secured and can drift back to its sleep. Sleeping on the parents, on mom, on dad, is actually a thing that helps babies quite a lot. Besides helping with the bonding experience, it actually has a primary function, because every single time your baby sleeps on your chest, it will sleep usually with one ear on your chest, and by that it will hear the heartbeat of mom or dad. It's just like in the womb, a sound of rhythm and a sound of safety, and it will also help to connect the sleep cycles. If you're nursing them to sleep, that's also the moment where you can just gently, maybe while lying on your side, nurse them back to sleep. Anything that works is totally fine. You're not trying to train them into being independent sleepers, because it's aphysiological to be completely independent as a sleeper, right? It's their physiological need and survival need to actually be able to wake up, have light sleep, be able to nurse frequently, check their surroundings, all right? That's totally normal. After around 4 to 6 months, you will notice that your babies will have an easier and easier time linking cycles. And that's when they usually start to develop their own mechanism to be able to link and have a longer sleep cycle. We're talking about individuals, so their individual pace will be different. Trust your baby's pace. How long should my baby stay awake? Your baby, especially as a newborn, can stay awake up to 75 minutes. General rule of thumb is an hour after waking up, it will start to show signs of being tired. What are signs of my baby, my newborn, being tired? They start grabbing some sort of part of their back head or hair or ears, trying to soothe itself already to sleep. But that is your sign you can pick up and help your baby. Another cue is, and at that point your baby is already being overtired, is when your baby becomes red eyebrows, and also around its eyes it's becoming reddish. When it starts to be fuzzy, starting to be on the edge of crying, that is also a very typical sign of it actually having had enough stimulus in those 60 minutes and being done and needing to restore its capabilities via sleep. Another cue is when your baby starts to have hiccups. Also a sign of its nerve system being in a heightened state, and that's why hiccups get produced, because a certain nerve, the phrenicus, is overactive, and that one actually stimulates diaphragm of your baby, and that's why the hiccups start coming, because overall the nerve system is in a very aroused state. It's technically tired. Should my baby sleep with me? What about co-sleeping? What is the best way for my baby to sleep? And while I am an osteopathic practitioner, and you should definitely talk to your doula or midwife, what I have come to the conclusion with talking to midwives and also having a baby, having co-slept, obviously it is an individual choice. The question behind this is always, how do you support your baby's sleep the best? Safe environment is the non plus ultra, right, for your baby. There is pros and cons both for co-sleeping and for not co-sleeping. There is also the matter of bonding and this safety feeling of your baby. Generally, typically, majority of cases where babies don't co-sleep, but sleep in a crib, maybe even next room, the first 8 months or so, they will be able to connect their sleep cycles a little bit better. Question behind it is it because they just have to, right? But what you will notice with those babies is, in general, more often than not, after 8, 9, 12 months, they will start to sleep a little bit worse than the babies that are co-sleeping. Why? Because what they're lacking is the actual bonding and the closeness to their parents. And eventually, once they are very strong and healthy, they will start to tell you they want it and need it. They will start waking at night because they want you to come, because they want to feel you and they want the bonding experience with you. Vice versa, with co-sleeping babies, usually the first few months are a lot rougher. they do have the whole bonding experience and the safety, but what they also do is they want to frequently nurse, right? After 8, 9, 10 months, they will be able to link their sleeps and have a deeper sleep. And also in the kindergarten or on playgrounds, that those are usually the kids that don't necessarily cry a lot because they have a closer or had a closer bonding with their parents. And by that, they were able to build a certain amount of self-assurance, and they know they can always depend on their parents being there. So those are the pros and cons of co-sleeping. When will my baby sleep through the night? It's also a very frequent question in my clinic. And the truthful and honest answer is, it's probably going to take about 3 years until that really happens. Even though it sounds kind of harsh and rough, it's going to get better each month. And eventually, it will come, but it will take a while. There will be nights where your baby wakes up only once or twice, but there also will be nights where your baby wakes up 8, 9, 10, 12 times, depending on things like, is it teething? Does it have a growth spurt? New experiences? And there's also something called sleep regression that hits pretty much everyone. Newborn sleep is intense and days go by so fast while also being so long. So these are the questions that are most frequently asked in my clinic. But the goal of all of this is to establish a nice bonding, give your baby a good environment to grow and develop its brain, aka enough sleep. There are cases where sleep is hard for a newborn because birth has been to a degree traumatic. So in those cases, you do want to check out a good and experienced osteopath that can take a look and see if there's something, a soft tissue technique to help your baby get into this relaxed nerve system setting to actually be able to take good rests and sleep well. I hope this video helped you guys. I hope you will have many restful nights with good sleep. Until the next video, see you then. This video is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Always consult your pediatrician, osteopath, lactation consult, or qualified healthcare professional before trying any techniques.